Greetings, shippers. Welcome back to another Fanversations, our 5th one. I love doing these, and we have a really fun one for you today. We're talking to Magic, the creator of her own independent comic, Magic Advisor. The tale of magic consultant Lizzie Vinter, who gives advice on all kinds of supernatural, superhero, paranormal occurrences, even though she doesn't have that much first-hand experience. So if you're interested in checking out this fun, paranormal, queer-themed work, I'll have all the links down below. The comic, where to purchase it, her blog, her YouTube channel, all of that fun stuff. We're going to have a discussion about taking input from fans, making some actual headcanon ships into canon, and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're interested in getting involved, remember you can email me to contact me and that patrons have first dibs. Now, let's get into it. Greetings, shippers. It's Sasha from Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy here with...
Magic.
So you reached out because you wanted to talk about a bunch of different things, so many different things, but I think we finally settled on comics, fandom, that kind of stuff, because you actually have your own comic.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been making my own comic now for 2 years. I started publishing it in Swedish online, and then shortly afterwards I started translating it as well. And since then it has came out as a book in Sweden, and I hope to have it out as in English as well in the near future, but it's available online so you can always read it for free as well.
That's awesome. So give people the name, and I'll link all the things down below so they can go find it.
Yeah, it's called Magic Advisor, and it's on DeviantArt and on Taboos and on my own website, so there are plenty of options if you want to read it.
So how did you get into doing that?
Yeah, I think I've been wanting to do comics for a long time, really. I tried starting to do a comic when I was about 15, and it turned out so ugly because I had no knowledge about how to make comics at all. So I drew everything by hand very, very small because I thought that you can't make pictures separately. You had to make them on the actual size pages. So that project went nowhere, and then I was kind of like, well, am I good enough to make a comic? I'm not sure. But I had this story that I had so much inspiration for, and I am an author, and I have published a novel as well. So I just love storytelling, and I felt like the story I had in my head would fit much better as a comic than a novel, because it's very funny and very slapstick, and I think that fits better in comic format. So I thought that, no, well, I'm going to give it a try again, and I started to practice digital art because I felt that would be better format for me to do it in. And so I did the first 4 pages, and then I was hooked on it, and I just kept uploading it, and it has been growing ever since. So that's a lot of fun.
So how has it been interacting with fans and all of that good stuff?
Yeah, it's been really wonderful. I'm really surprised that it has gotten a lot of attention really fast, because I started uploading it, and at first I was like, oh yay, I have 10 views, and then it has grown so much, and I'm very thankful. I get a lot of comments on I upload about 4 pages every month, and it's a very nice experience, I think, because when I made my novel, it's been very much in my own dark room, and I wrote on like the whole thing, and then I let people read it to give me feedback and so on, but it was very much a personal thing. But with my comic, it's been very interactive, and it's a very nice feeling to get feedback on almost every page. And that has definitely contributed to the comic changing a lot from the original idea I had, because I've seen what people has responded to and what people have liked, and which characters they have liked the best. And so I really been changing it because of the feedback I've been getting.
So how has that changed how you interact with fandom? Because I think that you're in like unique perspective of like, of course you're still a fan of things, but now you have all these fans of your own work. So how has that changed how you approach being a fan of things?
Yeah, I think in a way, I mean, I always think a lot more about the creators, and especially when it comes to ships, because since I have changed some things in my comic by what fans have wanted and what couples they have wanted to see and so on, in a way, I'm like, well, if a ship is really popular, why don't they just make it canon? Why don't they listen to the fans? But then on the other hand, I feel like because the ships I have made canon in a way, I have always felt like, no, this is a really good idea. Why didn't I think about this right away? Because I felt like my readers have seen potential that maybe I missed from the beginning. But I think as a creator, if you have a ship, no matter how many people ship it, if you yourself feel like, no, that would be completely out of character, I guess you wouldn't be able to write it well, even if you made it canon for the fans. So yeah, but I think a bit more about those things, like the inner workings and so on.
So I guess it was an easy decision then for you to make those ships that they wanted from Fanon be canon. But was there anything that they wanted that you ever didn't want to do, or?
I think sometimes people write headcanons and ideas and things, and I always think it's a lot of fun to hear, but I will only bring it in if I feel like it's really right, because as I said, if I don't feel good with it, then I won't be able to tell that story well. So, but I think mainly because I have my main character, and she was always intended to be gay, and I thought that she would have romances along the way, but she's very bookish and very focused on her work, so she's not really looking for love, but I always thought she would have relationships along the way, but I didn't really expect the sort of romance that is growing now, because she in the second chapter I did, she meets a girl who is a wannabe supervillain. She's not very competent, but she really wants to like rule the world, and she's very cute, and she wears those like Lolita fashion pink dresses that are very fluffy. So she's really a character of contrast, and she was supposed to be like a comic relief that would show up once in a while and have a frenemy relationship with my protagonist. But people really liked them together, and I kind of don't understand why I thought that wouldn't be a fun relationship to, evolve in a romantic way, because love are opposites, and they are definitely opposites. So but that, yeah, they got a lot of response, and people were like, oh, I ship them so much. And I was like, well, maybe I should play that up then. And then people were like, oh, will they be canon? Will they be canon? So I'm really developing that relationship now, and it's very exciting because I ship it too.
No, that's really cool, because I think people don't realize too that sometimes you can alter what creators think like that, and they end up shipping too. Like, people on the creative staff totally ship. It just depends. Sometimes they can or can't do stuff about it depending on where they are in the hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a problem a lot of the times, that creators, there are so many other people's opinions that goes into what comes out of the story. It's like people on the network and the higher bosses, and so there's a lot. But I think, yeah, I wish creators were a little bit more into making ships come true, if they feel like they would work, because
No, because sometimes a lot of what ends up being canon is just the same old tropes recycled
yeah,
over and
definitely.
over again.
Yeah, some things are so predictable, and it's too bad, because I think some ships out there are so creative. Like in Once Upon a Time, I really get the whole Emma Regina ship, because it is very creative that the savior would like save the evil queen with love. Like, I kind of like that. That's a very clever concept, but then, of course, they take it in other directions. So
Yeah, and then Hook showed up. So
yeah. And nothing against who, if that's a problem. Why can't, maybe everyone should be polyamorous in shows, like all ships can come true.
So how often do you find yourself interacting with fans?
Pretty much all the time. Like I said, I update a chapter every month, and it's about like 4 to 5 pages. And so I get comments on every update, and it's nice because, of course, I have in my head sort of like where the story is going. But sometimes people will point things out, and then I'm like, well, maybe we should stay and focus on that for a bit. So I try to listen a lot, really. But then, of course, I mean, you can never please everyone and so on. But I do try to always take it into consideration, because I think, especially with a webcomic, it's a very unique opportunity as a creator to actually be getting feedback on every page.
No, it's so interactive online,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
It's starting to be with the other things, but again, like there's so much in between
Mhm.
that even if you can have that instant interaction, it's very different because there's not any guarantee you can really change anything. So,
Mm, no, that's true. And I think also with TV shows, like even if creators, they can go on Twitter and they can go on Tumblr, and they can see how people respond to the episodes, they have usually done already the entire season.
mhm.
So it's not like in episode 2, someone can be like, oh, I wonder about that thing. That would be interesting to see more of. They can't really go back and add that in, or, I mean,
That would be great. Stop, we're
yeah.
reshooting everything.
I wonder if anyone has done that ever. Like, okay, hold everything.
I know. Surprise mid-season hiatus. We need to
Yeah,
reshoot some stuff.
I feel like if there was one fan that pointed something out that made the creators stop everything and redo it, I feel like other fans would be kind of upset about it. Like, why did you write that?
I know, like, what's so special about this one fan? So, do you still find yourself reading lots of comics even though you're writing your own?
Yeah, definitely. I love reading comics, and I think I actually read. I think I read in other ways since I started making my own, because I always loved reading comics, and I thought I was like looking at the art and really thinking about it story wise. But I think now that I make my own, I think about things even more, like
Hmm.
the pacing and the paneling and things like that. It's kind of fun in a way, because I thought that for me it takes maybe like 2, 3 days to finish a page,
Hmm.
and then when I read comics, it takes about 2 or 3 seconds to go over a page. No,
Yeah.
but
No, when you're working on something, you really see the effort that goes into it. Like, I'm an editor by trade, so whenever I go to the movies, I love to look at the editing. But the thing with editing is, as they say, if you do it well, no one notices. So,
oh, that is so true.
so I'm always sitting there like, I noticed the editing.
It's very ungrateful. I think that's the thing, because people usually they notice the bad over the good. And
Hmm.
that's just the way I think we work, because it's not like you go to your regular supermarket and you're like, guys, I just want you to know that you guys are great. You always have a great, great stuff. And but then, if your favorite chocolate is missing, you're like,
And
hey,
where's the chocolate?
yeah, it's like,
I think it's because for a lot of media stuff, some of it's so subconscious. It's the editing, it's the mise en scène, it's the soundtrack, and sometimes there are things that if they're off, they're so subtle, you're not even sure what it is that's
yeah.
bothering you.
That is true. Sometimes it's very hard to pinpoint why you don't feel like a movie scene is working and so on.
Hmm.
And it can be music and editing and,
And that's why
so those
sometimes I
small things.
think you can come off like a crazy fangirl, even if you're not trying to. You're like, no,
Mm,
there's reasons it wasn't good.
yeah. No, but I think that's very interesting, because I mean, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in the later years, the people that do the editing of a movie has gotten more attention, and it's more, maybe, more rewards and more focus. But I feel like in early cinema, that was like the lowest job you could have.
Oh yeah,
But
anybody
yeah,
in
yeah,
post or pre-production who you weren't seeing didn't
yeah,
get that much attention. It's a bit better now, but it's still more for people who are in the know and are into it. I think
yeah.
most average people don't think about like how a movie is edited or how the soundtrack is laid or layered or that kind of stuff. But for example, you can really see it in a movie like Suicide Squad, which is really poorly edited, and that's part of
Yeah.
why it doesn't work. And I just want to yell at
Mm.
everybody who hates. I'm like, but it's the editing. There's a good movie in there. Just re-edit it.
Oh, yeah, I think that could have been edited a lot differently, and it would have felt completely
You
different.
would have had a
Mhm.
completely different movie.
That's really interesting way. I like watching old movies a lot, and there, I mean, if you compare the after credits today with the after credits, then
Hmm.
it's like 10 people are on the credits, and that's it. And now it's like all those smaller names that,
Just
and I think that's nice.
hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
people. Although
Yeah,
some of the people on the credits, I do always laugh because it's like so and so's assistant to so and so's assistant.
yeah, it's almost too much. I usually when I sit through the credits on Marvel movies, waiting for the after
Yeah.
credit scenes, me and a friend, we will point at those really random names, and we will be like, "Oh, so he was the assistant editor to the costumes." Yeah, I kind of figured. It felt like his style.
So how many people do you have working on your comic, or is it just you?
It's just me actually. Yeah, so yeah, I'm actually a full-time comic maker and author right now, so that is
Nice.
very wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, I thought I would show you. This is
Hmm.
it as a book
Oh,
in
nice.
Swedish. Yeah. So yeah, so that's nice. So far I do everything myself from the art to the story. So
Hmm.
and it's nice. I like having control.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I do everything myself here too. Sometimes I have an editor who I toss off one or two to, but I'm always so, I guess, anal. There's no other word for it. I'm so anal
Mm.
about my edits that I know that I would drive anybody crazy. So I tend to just have a rough edit done, then I take it back and then re-edit it because I don't want to leave people crazy notes, which I know I would.
Mm.
They're all little
Oh.
thing like move this transition at zero point 0.2 seconds. Just change this one
Oh.
thing. I'm like, nobody needs that in their life.
Oh. I think that's very kind of you to spare people that. But I'm like that too. I'm very, very like I do like having full control, like
Hmm.
when it comes to the creative stuff. And I often think that when I read books that are I know with comics, I mean usually there are many people working on it, but I think with novels it's like something that really blows my mind that like two people can cooperate and create a story,
Hmm.
because for me it's very, I feel like when I create characters it's very personal, and they come to me um, like bits and pieces,
Hmm.
and I piece it together, and I always feel like I am discovering the characters more than creating them. And I feel like if you are doing a story together with someone else, you have to, discuss all the characters
Hmm.
and maybe be like, well, he's like this, and in those situations he reacts like this. And I couldn't do that because that's just not how characters come to me. But I think it's very fascinating though with people. I almost said I think it's fascinating with people being able to work with other people, but that sounded really sad. Like I think that's an impossibility. But you get what I
I know what
mean.
you mean. So, do you feel like your characters belong more to you or more to everybody once they're put out there?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm like doing the evil. I'm the canon laugh. No, no. I think. I mean, they do feel like they belong to me because I feel like they live inside my head first
Hmm.
and foremost. But I do also really feel like whoever reads it, I want them to feel like the characters belong to them as well. Because when I really enjoy fiction, that's how I feel. I bring those characters into myself, and I want people to do that with my characters as well. And I think that's probably why I listen so much to comments and feedbacks and things like that, because I really, maybe I wish other creators would listen to me, but but no, I think that's actually a wonderful part, the whole interaction with one's audience. And I really love it when other people, I've gotten some fan fiction and a lot of fan art, and I always love to see how other people like interpretate the characters. And because a lot of the time with the fan fiction I have gotten and so on, I always feel like, oh, this person really gets my characters, and that is such a cool feeling. I really love that. So
I always really like when authors are open to it because I know when it first started to become more mainstream a bit back in the day when the internet started really pumping a lot of stuff out there, some creators had a bit of a pushback reaction to it because
yeah.
they felt that
Mm,
people were infringing a little bit
mm,
on their characters and they weren't really sure how to handle it. So
mm,
it always makes me happy to see that that attitude is very much lessening and that
yeah.
people are open to seeing so many more things.
Mm.
So do you ever message creators and stuff? I'm always too shy. So do you?
Yeah, I try to be braver ever since I started, my own YouTube channel, and I really want to. It's about creativity and fiction and
Hmm.
a little bit about the supernatural as well because I write fantasy. But I have interviewed some creators that I liked on my channel, and I think but there are some people that I'm dreaming about reaching out to, and I'm not talking like some really famous comic creator or so on, but just maybe web comic creators and people that I like that. I'm like, I want to reach out, but I'm shy too. So
Yeah.
and I think the worst part is that I'm afraid that, well, what if I write them and they reply something maybe not mean, but something snarky or something that then every time I see their content, I will always think that, well, you do great comic, but you sure were snarky in your email. Like,
I know, like you don't want to shatter the illusion. You want to maintain it. Like they're nice people and they'll always be nice people if I don't do anything to disprove that.
have you ever felt like, because sometimes I also feel like even if it would go very well and we would have a good connection and we would talk or so on, I'm kind of afraid of the fact that, then I would maybe not move from fan to friend, but the dynamic would change. I wouldn't just be this fan consuming their work. I would have interacted with them. And I feel like that changes something too in just the way I would view their work. I don't know, that's a strange thing, but
No, I know what you mean because once you interact, you're no longer just, I guess, a base level fan. You're a fan who's had some kind of interaction with the actual creator. So you feel kind of like you've had some kind of say or just a different experience, I guess, than a bunch of other people who haven't maybe spoken to that creator. And it depends because some creators are they talk to their fans so regularly and others don't. So it can be very different from fandom to fandom.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I met, that was just a short signing, but I went to signing because, my favorite Superman from Lewis and Clark, that TV show he came to the Swedish science fiction comic con thing. So I went there and I asked for his autograph and things were going really well.
Yeah.
And then I said something along the lines of, oh, I've been watching Lewis and Clark ever since I was a little kid. And he looked at me and he was like, don't tell me how old you are. Then I will feel really old. I mean, that was kind of funny, but I also felt like I want to bite my tongue off. Like, yeah, I met him IRL. I made him feel old. Yeah, that's what happened.
Get that on a t-shirt. I made Superman feel old.
Yeah. Okay, that would actually be a very awesome t-shirt. It'd be like a great conversation piece for sure.
Would. People would be like, but which one?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. It was a traumatic experience.
I've never been brave enough to talk to anybody. I don't know what I think is going to happen. I know they're just regular people and it will probably be absolutely fine, but I always get so shy. And one of my favorite actors, Jeffrey Combs, he's been in so many things and he was at Fan Expo here in Toronto and his line was super short, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was like, no, I'm too scared. I'm just going to keep walking.
I think it is that, you want the memory of the interaction to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's too, I completely understand.
And it's so interesting because ever since I've been doing my channel, I know that there are some people who feel that way about reaching out to me to like even just to do something like do these Fanversations. Like sometimes I reply to people and they're like, oh my God, you replied. And I'm like, of course I replied.
Well, I'm going to be very honest. I've been a fan of your channel from the beginning and I did feel like that a bit when I reached out to you. So please let this be good interaction. Lot this.
Well, I was a bit nervous putting it out there because you never know when you're just talking to people, you have no idea how it's going to go. But I really wanted to just talk to different fans because I'm always talking about, like different people think this and different people think that. And I wanted to show like, no, these people are real. These people exist. I'm not making them up there.
Exactly. No, I think it's such a wonderful idea, really. I really love the whole concept of the Fanversations. So
no, I'm really enjoying it so far. Everybody's been super fun and I'm getting to talk about all these different fandoms, which is so great because I don't know about you, but I have a million fandoms. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's like millions and counting.
Yeah. Every time
So
there's something new that I like, it's, oh no, now I have another thing that I need to pay attention to.
I know. Do you ever feel like you're neglecting old fandoms? Because I can feel like that when I realize, like, oh, I haven't been rewatching this show that I really love in like 3 years now, and am I still part of the fandom? And it's like,
Sometimes I have this weird realization that it's been forever since I went to read fan fiction for a certain show or pairing that I'm into. And I'll go back, and sometimes I can actually catch up from all the new fics to where I was when I stopped. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's been a year, or it's been 6 months. And why did I stop reading these?
I know, it's so strange. You have those phases, I guess. It's
Mhm.
not like you stop being a fan, but it's like, I mean, maybe it's because there are too many fandoms out
So
there,
you
but
can't, yeah, you can't be that passionate about all of them at the same time. So I
mm,
find that they definitely cycle. Do you have one that you always come back to?
I think it's funny because my first real introduction to shipping and fan fiction was when I was, I guess I must have been about 14 when I started watching Stargate SG-1.
Mm.
And I was watching it with a friend, and she sent me my first slash fanfic about Jack and Daniel from
Yes.
that Stargate team. Yeah. So that was how I got into it. And I reread that very fanfic recently because I found it like in an old folder, and I was like, oh, this was my first fanfic. And it was so bad, it was so cheesy. And I remembered it as like the best thing ever. But that was very sentimental, and I feel like because me and that friend, we still rewatch that series a lot. Like we always come back to it, and I
Yeah.
think, yeah. And every time when we talk shipping, I feel like Jack and Daniel is still like our go-to pairing that we will always come back to,
Yeah, I'm
because.
sad that people don't remember that one as much because I remember it being huge while that was going on. And now
Mm.
it's kind of in the background because a lot of the fics weren't reposted on the new archives and everything.
Mm. No, I think there was this fandom page called Area 52 that had like a lot of Stargate fan fiction, but I think that one, I don't even know if that is still there because I think I have some links to it that doesn't work anymore, so that's a bit sad.
I have
Uh,
so many dead live journal links. I'll just click on
oh,
it and this live journal has been purged. And I'm like,
oh,
no.
oh. I feel like it's so terrible because I mean, if there is anything I would like to go back to, it's old fanfic because it's so sentimental, but
Hmm.
so many has disappeared and it's so sad.
That's why I save and print them like a crazy person because that
No, but
has happened too many times.
I think that's great. I haven't printed anyone, but I do have a lot of ones on like Word documents. But I feel like some of them are from when I was really young, so sometimes when I look at them, I'm like, what is this? But there are a lot of good memories as well, and yeah.
I'm just amazed at how smutty I was. I go back and I'm
Uh,
reading, and some of them are really mature, and I was like 14. What?
Yeah, I know. I said that to a friend actually that it's a lot more boring to read fanfic now when I'm actually above 18. It was always so much fun to press that when I was like 14, like, yes, I'm above 18.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm old.
I know now I'm way above 18.
Yeah, it's not a problem anymore. Yeah, I think sometimes, yeah, at least I was ready for a whole lot of smutty fan fiction in that age already.
I'm planning to do a video on smut sometime in the near future, but half of it's probably just going to be explaining, hey, it's not as weird as you think, guys.
Hmm. Sometimes I feel like, I mean, there are so many moments where I have been reading fan fiction and then just stopped and like, what am I reading?
I read it on my phone sometimes when I'm killing time, and my
Yeah.
husband will sometimes come and look over my shoulder, and I'll be like, "No, you can't read." It's like, "What are you
No, what's
reading?
this?
You don't need to know what this is." It's funny. I guess that feeling of it being kind of taboo never fully went away. Like I'll always hold it a bit close to the chest if I'm
Yeah.
out in public or anything.
But I think, with fan fiction, because a lot of people, when they are to describe bad writing, they call it like it's fan fiction like. But I
Hmm.
think that is such a misconception because I can honestly say that I have read so much better fanfics than I have read books. I mean, there are some books that are like, I feel like, oh, the writing is so bad, how could this be published? And then there are fanfics that are so great, and I'm like, wow, this author is like my role model.
Mm-hmm. No, it's 100% true because people will pick up the really, truly bad ones, which is often unfair because lots of times it's someone really young or it's their first
Yeah.
ever fanfic. And fan fiction is like anything else. There's good fanfic and there's bad fanfic,
Yeah.
just like with everything.
Yeah, like there are bad and good movies and bad and good music and so on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
just that
think
there's that tier, that
yeah.
tier when it comes to fan fiction that the actual work must be better than the fan fiction based off of it, but that's not
Yeah.
necessarily true.
That is true. I think maybe that's the way, I mean, maybe some authors feel a bit threatened actually by fans writing and, fans reading fan fiction, because then they are like, oh, you didn't like the decisions I made in the books, you're reading fan fiction instead. Like, maybe that's the real reason some authors are so against it. They actually feel on some level a bit threatened by it. I don't know, but
I think
yeah.
sometimes it might be difficult if what people are seeing is very different from what you're seeing. Because it's like
Yeah.
you said, like it's really great when someone really gets your characters, but it must be
Yeah.
kind of weird when you read something and someone is seeing something completely out of left
Yeah.
field from what you think.
That is true. That is true. I haven't really had an experience where I really felt like, oh, this person don't get it at all. But but I think I can imagine that if someone, wrote something that I felt like, oh, this is like not like this character at all. I think I would feel a bit like, oh, is it me have like, because I want this character to be this way and I know they are this way. But have I not been able to show that in the story in a way where others can understand it? And
I think people forget that authors, everybody, creators are people too, and that the things you do sometimes absorb the things that people say and internalize them and think about them maybe more than we should sometimes.
Yeah, true. But I feel like sometimes for some characters, there's like the canon version, and then there's the fan fiction version. And I feel like there are some changes that are made to the characters that sort of go through all the fanfics. Like I start to feel like, oh, well, this character. I actually felt that a little bit with Thor. Like he was always way more fun in fan fiction. And now when I watched the new Thor movie, I felt like, oh, he's finally fan fiction Thor.
He's fun Thor. He's not jock
Yeah.
jerk Thor.
No, exactly. And I feel like that comes from the fandom in a way, because he's always been a little bit more like that in fan fiction. And now in the movie, they are like, okay, no, now he's just going to be really funny. And I love that.
I felt that Thor 3 was really in tune with the fandom.
Yeah.
I loved how they reclaimed the adoption joke from the Avengers, because I was one of those people who did not love the adoption joke. It didn't make me as angry as it made some people, but it just felt very out of place, even from a narrative level, because I was like, but he loves his brother though. Why would he say that? That's a very random statement. But then I really liked in Thor 3 how they reclaimed it and brought it back. And so watching it, it was like, oh, hey, they paid attention to what people were saying and they brought it in. And that's always really cool to see.
Yeah.
Oh, no, like another character, speaking of characters who I think are way different in fan fiction from their book form, I always felt that was Severus Snape.
That is definitely true.
I felt that like Severus Snape in fan fiction, up until as the books progressed, it changed. But at the beginning, he had so much more depth. He was 10 times hotter than he was described in the books. He has had so much more going on than was ever given to him for the first few books until his character got fleshed out. And I always found that really fascinating because based on her description, you were clearly supposed to find him unappealing, but the fandom just embraced him.
Exactly. It's like, that is so true, because Snape just turned really hot in a lot of fiction, and in a way that's very unexpected.
No, like you wouldn't expect it because he's mean to your protagonist, and the description like greasy hair, huge hook nose, and everybody's so hot.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. I wonder how that really developed, because I think at a certain point, fan fictions start to influence other fan fiction authors.
Yes.
But like, who was the first person to write about Snape in an attractive way?
I would love to trace that back. That would be amazing, like an anthropological search
Yeah.
in fan fiction.
That would be really cool. I always think that in fandoms a lot, but yeah, but who really coined this shipping name and like who started this trend? And because I mean, it has to start with someone.
That's why I was
But,
so excited when I was able to pinpoint the actual Alpha, Beta, Omega origin. It was like, oh, it's the first fic.
Hmm. I think fluff definitely. I really love it when it's cute and funny, and I feel like I think some angsty they can have really great ideas,
Mhm.
and but sometimes I feel like especially I think I especially read fan fiction when I'm a bit angry at the canon. Maybe there are a lot of angst in the canon already, or so then I will go to fan fiction to sort of get the lighter sides. I think most of the time I will read fluff, but
I'm into the missing scenes. I always feel that there's so much to be explored, so I always love missing scene fics. It's like, especially after a specific episode or something, it's like, at the end of this episode, missing scene. And I'm like, yes,
uh,
because that needs to be explored more. It's Once Upon a Time was the king of missing scene fic for me.
mm, yeah, and I feel like once upon a time it's just there is so much to be explored there with everyone's background, and
Hmm.
there is just so much going on. So that must be a gold mine for the missing scene
Oh, it
fic.
is. So many dropped storylines that you can
Mm,
just look and
yeah,
find.
I would love it if the creators were like, no, we didn't drop storylines. We are opening up for missing scene fics. Mm.
How do you feel when creators are open about the fact that they read fan fiction and stuff? I know it makes some people uncomfortable, but how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I am very open with rereading fan fiction for my own comics. So,
Hmm.
but then again, I think when I hear other creators reading fan fiction, I always start to think, I mean, if I had made some fan work myself, I'm like, have they read it? Like, I think I'm more intrigued by it, really. And also, I mean, I think it's very cool. I think it's awesome when creators are embracing fan works because I very much like having that interaction with my readers. And before I was publishing my stuff, that was really my dream. Like,
Hmm.
that was like my ultimate fantasy to have other people write fan fiction or make fan art. And I feel like that is such a kick to know that people are enjoying it in a way where they want to continue the story itself in a way. So I think when creators are like, well, I've been looking at fan art or I've been looking at fan fiction, I'm like, that's awesome. So yeah.
No, I think it can be really cool, and there's just something about knowing that people took extra time with your
Yeah.
world or your work, that they love it that much that they want to
Yeah.
extend more energy on it. It must be just a really rewarding feeling.
Mm, yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think I don't really understand those authors that are like, no, I would never look at fan fiction, and if I could remove them all from the internet, I would. Like I don't really understand that because I feel like getting a fanfic is a way bigger compliment than getting a good review in a way,
Hmm.
because this really means that someone has invested so much of their own imagination into your story, and I feel like what could be a bigger compliment than that?
Because it's more than that they liked it. It's become part of just their enjoyment of their regular day-to-day
Yeah.
existence, which
Mm,
is so cool because fandom can extend for a very long time, way beyond whatever is created.
yeah. And that's amazing, and I feel like fandom, it can really take on a life of its own.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's the dream. That really, I mean, I feel like if there wasn't so much like, because even after a series is finished, if the fan works continues, that series lives on in a different way.
Hmm.
Like I feel like if the Harry Potter fandom could have no fan fiction, I feel like it wouldn't be as big as it still is.
No,
Um,
it's and that fandom is such a juggernaut. It just keeps
yeah,
going and going. I love it.
yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I feel like because there are some fandoms where I feel like I wonder how big this will be in a couple of years. And the Harry Potter fandom, it just feels like it gets bigger and bigger by all the time. Like
That's the fascinating
it's
thing
never.
about being in fandom for so long is you really see which ones stand the test of time and which ones end up just
Yeah.
being sort of fads or popular for their
Mm.
moment and then fading, except for the diehards.
And I think that's true even for your own personal ships. Like some ships are forever, and some you are really into for a short while, and then a couple of years later, you're like, nah, I'm not really into that anymore. So.
Yeah. Do you have any
Mm.
ships like that that you were really into and now you're kind of like, eh?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think, and it's not because, I mean, I am still very much into, I mean, I wish that ship had happened, but I used to be very into reading fan fiction about Warehouse 13,
Oh, okay, yeah.
about Micah and the female Hogger Wells.
Hmm.
And I really love that ship. I love the idea of them as a couple and so on. But I feel like since that series finished and there hasn't been any new episodes or anything, I have kind of gotten out of it. Like it was a very long time ago since I read fan fiction. But maybe if I rewatched it, I would be come back to it. But it feels like one of those that unfortunately are a little bit gone. And I feel like I don't know how big the fandom is still. Maybe it's really big, but I've been kind of out of it lately. But.
Hmm.
Mm.
Do you have any ships for things that you're not really a fan of, like a movie, a book, or something you don't really like, but you end up having a ship from it anyway?
Mm, yeah, that I feel like in a way, I think I'm a little bit like that with Pretty Little Liars because I have so many issues with that series. Like it's, I mean, it's very entertaining, but on the same time, there are so many things in the stories that I'm like, no, why would you do that? And that's kind of uncomfortable. And why did that happen? And but for some reason, and I feel like maybe because it's a strange ship in a way, but I also feel like I'm the only person shipping this, and that is Mona and Spencer.
Okay.
Like especially in the later seasons, I was like, no, but it makes sense because Mona. I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, her characters develops a lot, and they are like the smartest characters in the show.
Hmm.
And I feel like no, that has potential. They would be really interesting together, but. And then I looked at the tag on Tumblr and I think there were like 10 posts and I was like, I'm so alone.
That's always so sad, especially when it makes so much sense to you. I've had that happen with so many ships, and then you go and try and find somebody else, and there is nobody, and you have to go to a kink meme and make a request, like, please write this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so strange because I feel like in my head at least that ship makes so much sense. I mean, I even think I know Aria and Spencer is a really big ship in that fandom and that's cute, but I feel like Mona and Spencer, like it has so much potential and there's like the enemy dynamic to it and
Hmm.
it just could be very interesting, but no. But yeah, as you said, I think that's one of those where I really like that ship, but I do have a lot of issues with the series at the same time.
That's me and the DCEU. Those they're
Mm,
not as bad as people say they are. But I
no.
have so many ships and great fics that I found in that fandom, even though, and so many of them are super bad, Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent,
Oh.
even though in
Mm,
that movie there's such a mess. But
mm,
but I love it, and people have written some really great fix-its and follow-ups
mm.
to it that are just
Oh, yeah.
so much more amazing than the movies themselves, and I'm really into it. And so then I
Mm,
have to go into my little DCEU corner and be like, "Hey guys, who
mm.
wants?"
Well, maybe that's a case where the fan fiction is actually better than the
It
inspiration.
is.
Like,
It really is. What's your favorite fandom to be a part of?
hmm, oh, can I only pick one?
I know, right?
I mean, I am very much into Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. I really love that ship a lot.
Hmm.
And I really like what's happening with them in the comics right now. I feel like because I've been shipping that ever since I first watched the animated series.
Hmm.
And so I really love Harley Quinn and like all her comics and
Hmm.
everything. It's like other fandoms I'm really into. I really love Hannibal. I miss that show so much. I think that one was amazing.
Every time there's a rumor that it's gonna come back, I'm so
Yeah,
excited and I
I
hope so
know.
hard.
Mm, yeah, because I think that show is such a masterpiece, but it's like, yeah, I miss that one a lot. And I read some. I think it was an interview with the creator about things that he would have liked to do for the next season.
Yeah.
And it was torture to read.
It would have been so amazing, and then that ship would have it already pretty much was canon, but it was going to be
Yeah.
hardcore canon, and I was so
Yeah.
excited.
Like I would love to see that, and I feel like seriously they need to do that before the actors are like 100 years old. Like they need
And then you're
to.
in that awkward zone where we're pretending that they don't look older, but they all really do.
Oh yeah, yeah. That can get very weird. I think with ages a lot in TV shows and so on. Like I think in just randomly, but I think in Sabrina the Teenage Witch,
Mm.
I think she was about 30 when she made the episode, but she's supposed to be 19 and pretend she's 25. And I'm like, this is a complete mess in so many ways.
I feel that way about Outlander, especially
Oh,
season 3,
mm.
where they've gotten to the point where 20 years have passed. And so you're
Oh,
looking at the character, and she's supposed to be 20 years later in her
oh,
40s, and they've
oh.
done pretty much nothing. I'm like, wow, she looks fantastic.
Like she aged so well. Like, what's her secret?
And especially him, because they're going back to the Jacobite era. And I'm always like, okay, people didn't have that great of health and stuff. He's looking really
Yeah.
great for historical
It's
times.
kind of funny how they're like, oh, we're going to make this time skip, but we're not going to put any effort into like. I mean, at least in Pretty Little Liars, after the time skip, they gave them really ugly clothes, so that was something.
I think for Outlander, because so much of the appeal of the series is their love and their physical love, I think they want to maintain
Yeah,
the
true.
hotness aspect of the
I keep
characters.
thinking about how they sort of try to age everyone in the Harry Potter cast up in the epilogue,
Hmm.
and I feel like if they had done that in Outlander, it wouldn't have been so hot. Like,
No, because they did not look that great.
no, no,
My favorite
and
thing about aging people up, though, is now we're actually going to get to see what they do look like when they hit middle age. I always like to compare when they do stuff like that, how the
yeah,
people actually look.
that is actually, yeah, that's very interesting. I think sometimes you can. Is there any show where they've been right? Like they actually done it well? I'm trying to think of
I'm trying to
something.
think. I'm sure there has to be one, but I'm totally blanking right now. I know I'll remember at like 3 a.m. in the
No,
morning or something.
no, no.
Speaking of Harley and everything, how do you like her new anti-hero stuff? Like her, because there's a whole debate online, I'm sure you've seen it, of classic
Yeah.
Harley versus new
Mm.
Harley. So how do you feel about all that?
I had a long process accepting new Harley because I mean I got into her through the animated series, as I'm sure most people have,
Hmm.
and then I actually really enjoyed this comic. I think it was between 2001 and 2003, and she has her classic costume in that one.
Yeah.
And that was the first Harley comic that I really got into, and I really liked that one. And I guess she's sort of an anti-hero in that as well, but she's definitely more on the evil side a
Hmm.
lot, and especially in the ending, it's very obviously that yeah, she doesn't make very compassionate choices. And yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but it ends kind of dark in a way, and I feel like in a way that makes sense. But I don't know because I feel like her character it was very much melted together with the Joker, like
Hmm.
originally. And maybe for her to be able to have her own comic and develop as a character, they kind of need to do that change. But on the same time, I really understand the people that are against it because, I mean, most people fell in love with Harley as a villain.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm still
Uh,
on my quest to whether or not I like it because I read all the Harley comics. I
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
adore
Mm.
them, and I'll always read them. But I'm still not sure about this latest one, how I feel about the tone of it. And I'm always reading
Yeah.
it, and I'm like, do I like it? Do I not like it? I
Mhm.
don't know.
I feel like the new 52 version, I was always like very much on the fence about. I feel like it has gotten a little bit better with Rebirth, and I don't
Hmm.
really know why I feel that way, but it's like I don't know, maybe there is something in the tone that feels a bit better, but yeah, I understand what you mean. There is something that always feels a little bit off, and it's probably the editing, but as we talked about before.
No,
But
I like the tone of Rebirth better
yeah,
in general. It's just
mm,
it's happier and less dark for no
yeah,
reason. Like New
mm,
52 had a lot of just darkness added to a lot of
yeah.
characters for no reason.
Exactly, and I think especially with Harley, mostly it got very, very violent, and I think that's how they sort of added the darkness into it. And I don't know, it was a little bit too much sometimes.
I felt that as well. I know a lot of people really loved the issue where she broke up with the Joker, and
Mhm.
but I just found that really violent and
Yeah,
retaliatory, and to a point where I just couldn't get behind. I know he's been absolutely atrocious to her,
yeah,
but
yeah, sure,
I
but
couldn't cheer on her biting his lip off. And
no, I know. I think in a way, I think, I mean, for me, it's like I like the characters to either be, I mean, just complete villains and, they do messed up things and so on. But it's like, yeah, well, it's a villain, you're just gonna have to take that. But I think in the minute they start to try and turn characters to more good path and they start to redeem them and they are sort of in between,
Mhm.
I always want them to lean more towards the good, because in a way when they get a certain amount of morality to them, I feel like the evil deeds gets a lot worse than when
Yeah.
they are just villains. But if they are going to be kind of good, kind of relatable, kind of you're supposed to root for them, then they can't just go back and forth between doing really messed up things and doing really like good things. Like,
Mhm.
and maybe that is the problem with Harley in the newer versions, because she is very much, there's this constant balance where they want to keep her crazy and sort of, a bad guy sometimes, but she's also supposed to be have a heart of gold in there,
Yeah.
and it is a hard balance because, yeah.
I find what I miss is I miss a more villainous Poison Ivy. I adore
Mm,
Poison Ivy, and
yeah. Mm,
I find that lots of writers don't always know what to do with her
mm,
sometimes, because her plots, if you don't work at them, can become very repetitive. Like, gotta take
yeah.
over the world with plants,
Mm,
eco-terrorism. But
mm,
there's so much there that you can do, and I do miss her having a bit more of her own stuff. I like her and
yeah.
Harley, but I wish they were written up
Mm,
a bit more. Like
yeah,
there's a bit more
true.
there to it.
Mm, yeah, I can see that definitely.
Because sometimes with the way the panels are framed, I feel it's a bit exploity. Just
Yeah, that is true.
I remember the vacation issue especially was where I
Mm,
really started to notice, because before, like, every comic's got a bit of cheesecake. They do it for everybody.
yeah.
It's like, look at these abs, look at that butt,
Mm,
and all that. But
yeah.
when they went to the vacation, it was, oh, it's a nudist beach, and there were all these like strategically placed plants and
Yeah.
all of
Yeah,
that.
that was kind of silly.
I was like, it's a bit much, guys. I'm enjoying the story. Please stop.
No, that is true. I think in a way, I mean, there are a lot of potential to Poison Ivy, and it's
Mhm.
very seldom she really gets a leading part. Like, I mean, in New Harley, she feels like, I mean, she is a love interest in that one, and I'm happy that they have that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I understand what you mean. Like, it would be nice to get more stories with her that are sort of different and not
Mhm.
just, yeah, the basic one.
I think it's
Have you
harder to redeem Poison Ivy though.
Yeah, that is true, and maybe that's why they are sort of like most of the time not even dealing with what she does.
Mhm.
Like,
Because it's real dark when you go into
yeah,
it.
definitely. I don't know. I think for some things I get very nervous. Like I feel like that's the case with. I mean, I used to be really big into the Hey Arnold fandom.
Mm.
Yeah, and the whole Helga Arnold thing, I really shipped that a lot when I was younger. And now, there's a new movie, and I'm so terrified to see it.
No, I know
And
what you
I,
mean.
yeah, like, mm,
Whenever they say they're adapting something from when I grew up or my childhood, I am always very wary,
yeah,
because the tone often is very odd. This
mm,
mismatch of trying to appeal to the older generation, but also to a new generation that's never seen it.
yeah,
And lots of times it just gets stuck in this middle zone where it doesn't really meet either end.
yeah. And I heard someone say that the Hey Arnold movie focuses a lot more on just background with his parents and so on. And I was like, well, didn't you make the movie to make the Helga and Arnold trip come true? Like, I don't care about his parents. Yeah, but maybe that's just me being really immature about it. they're like, oh yeah, we created this background for him, and he will get all those answers about his family. And I'm like, screw that! What's happening with Helga?
Have you ever gotten too into a fandom, you think?
Hmm. I think I was. I mean, I think the fandom I've been the most obsessed about was when I was about 15, 16, and I rediscovered the Pokemon anime. Because I grew up with that, and then I was babysitting and I saw one episode and I was like, oh my god, this anime is the best thing ever, and I love Team Rocket and everything is about Team Rocket now. And I think I had this obsession with the Pokemon anime for like, I think 4 years, and I pulled my best friend into it, and we would like stand around different places and say the Team Rocket motto. It was like, yeah, we were devoted. But I don't know. I don't think it, as long as you're having fun, I don't think it can be too much though. But
Yeah, I think as long as it's all in good fun and everything, it's all
yeah,
good.
yeah. And that really got me into anime in general again. So that was great because I mean in Sweden we used to have Pokemon and Sailor Moon on TV, but of course it was dubbed into Swedish. So I mean I realize now that a lot of things were kind of ruined in the translation. They also had this horrible episode of Pokemon in Sweden where they thought it was a really good idea to dub the Pokemon's voices so you could hear what they were saying. And all the Pokemon was speaking with like really, I mean, they all sounded like they were really like old, and Pikachu had this old man voice. And it's so strange because I think in that episode, in the English version, they actually have subtitles under. And in Sweden, we put subtitles on everything. But for some reason, in this episode, it felt like, no, we can't do that. We have to have this old man talking for Pikachu. So yeah, I watched those when I was growing up. But then when I rediscovered Pokemon, I was like, oh, I need to explore the anime genre. So it brought good things with it, or maybe just too many fandoms. But yeah.
Over here, we tend to we edit out guns a lot. There's this really big paranoia about showing guns in children's programming. So lots of times if there's an episode, they won't air it. Or for example, Yu-Gi-Oh, they edited them out. So,
oh yeah, I think there's a Pokemon episode too that is like you can't find it anywhere because they had guns
yeah,
in
they
it.
had guns in it. I saw it online and I was like, I've never seen this episode. And then I realized that's
No, like
probably
what
why.
is this?
And I'm such a completionist, so that actually angers me. I'm like, I want to see this episode. I want to have seen every episode.
Yeah, I think with Pokemon there are some legendary episodes that were banned that are really hard to come by. Like there is the gun episode, and then there are the one which of course I think it was a very good thing they took it off the air, but I feel like maybe they could have cut it, like the
The
one where they
Polygon
had to.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like it's very important to take off a scene like that, of course, but they could have maybe shown, I don't know, the rest of it, or was the flashy lights like vital to the plot? Like there was no way to.
There was no way to cut it out.
No, it was like that was the plot twist. That was like. And then, of course, I think the scene where James has the like the bikini on,
Yeah.
I think that was good as well. That's a classic.
I think that's so funny because he cross dresses so many other times, but I guess the bikini
Yeah.
was too far.
Yeah, it's like it's fine that he cross dresses, but those big fake boobs, that was too
It's
much.
too far. That's where we draw the line.
Yeah.
So after discovering those, what kind of anime did you get into?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I used to watch everything and think everything was great just because it was anime. Then I've gotten a bit more like picky. But I think that's very important when you just discover the anime genre because it's so different to cartoons from the West. So it's like everything just feels so new. I think I'm very alone in that fandom as well, but there is this anime called Carried by the Wind, and it's about a female samurai and her sort of travel companion who is material art. How do you say that? Like fighting style, material arts.
Oh, martial arts, yeah.
Yeah, martial arts. Yeah, so it's about these two, and it's so funny, and that's definitely I ship them so much. I think it's subtext. It must be subtext, but yeah, that one is definitely still one of my absolute favorites. And then, of course, I really love Death Note a lot. That is high on the list as well. I think that's amazing. And I like one that is called, I haven't read the manga for that one, but it's called Get Backers. And
Okay.
it's very funny. Yeah, it's about those two guys who works with getting lost stuff back for other people. And it sounds like it's supposed to be a very easy job, but it always leads to like fighting and a lot of. I feel like sometimes I the animes that have really stuck with me are ones that are very unknown. Like
No, I
I
feel
haven't
the
really.
same way. Like my favorite one I talked about in my anime video is Onisama E. And
Mm,
so few people know about that one. It's just a really
mm,
coming of age story about this high school
mm.
girl going to an all girls school
Oh.
and how
Mm,
she develops these kind of crushes on three very different women at the school
oh.
and how
Mm,
she learns more and more about them and their interpersonal lives and how they're all connected as the anime goes on. And it's all framed through writing these letters to her brother. And
mm.
I just really liked it. And every time I bring it up,
It
people are like,
sounds so
"What?"
cute. Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of sad. It's kind of like the Mona and Spencer ship all over again. No, but I mean, yeah, that I really have to check that one out because it sounds really adorable. So,
It is. It's
yeah.
it's cool. What's it like, the anime fandom in Sweden? Over here, it's kind of okay to like it. It's kind of really
Mm.
nerdy to like it. What's it like over there?
I think in Sweden, I mean, nerds are so in style. Like everyone wants to be a nerd.
Mm.
So I think I every time I tell people I'm into anime and comics, they are like, "Oh, that's so cool." Like I think we have a really great community for things like that in Sweden, and there are a lot of comic cons and different like anime festivals and things like that. So and I always sort of thought of that as normal. Like, yeah, there are a lot of events like that. But I realized talking to other people in Europe that it's not like that everywhere. So I guess, yeah, we are good with the nerdy
Yeah.
stuff here.
We're pretty good with it over here, but there's also this I guess not ageism isn't quite the right word, but this
Mm,
idea that there's a certain age where it starts to be a little
mm,
weird. I've definitely passed that age,
yeah.
but
Oh, no, I understand. It's like it's cute up to a certain age, and then it's like, should you really watch so many cartoons?
yeah, because there's this idea, especially over here, I find in North America, that cartoons are for children and
Yeah.
animation is for kids. And as
Mm.
soon as you mention anything animated, people automatically assume to the point where sometimes people will rent things that are animated and just stick their
Mm.
kids right in front of it.
Oh.
And then sometimes it's really not okay because I definitely saw some things that weren't okay that way.
No, no, I feel like that, especially with anime, that can be really dangerous.
Yeah, because especially when it first came over, I don't think people realized how adult a lot of it was because some of the stuff they
Oh.
just aired during regular nighttime blocks. And then after looking
Mm.
at it, it was like, oh, well, that's not okay. Let's move that to the late, late nighttime block.
Yeah, I think it's strange because I mean, even in the West, originally cartoons wasn't necessarily for kids. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I like the old Betty Boop cartoons a lot. I think they are
Hmm.
just, I mean, some of them are just really messed up, but a lot of them are just really like surreal and cute and funny. But I mean, then it was like, oh, it was for all ages, and then somehow it just became more and more for kids. But I think like with anime and manga, that has always been for all ages, and I think that's
Yeah.
really cool how that is such a big thing.
Yeah, I wish it was more like that over here. And that's why
Yeah.
I kind of got mad at the movie Sausage Party, which I know is a really stupid movie to be mad at. But it was the
Yeah.
first R-rated animated movie over here in forever. And I just feel that there was so much potential. I know I shouldn't have expected anything
Mm.
different from Seth Rogen, but
Mm.
but I just really wish it had been an opportunity to show what an adult story you can tell with
Yeah.
animation instead of just sex joke,
Mm.
sex joke, sex joke.
Yeah, I think that's too bad, really. And I think, I mean, there because like cartoon as just the storytelling medium has so much potential for great storytelling. And it's too bad when a movie like that comes out and people are like, oh, this is for adults, and then like, oh well, yeah.
And then
So,
and then people kind of assume that that's all it's for. Because with
yeah.
Adult Swim, a lot, like some of the stuff is mature and cool, but a lot of the stuff is like that. It's just the place where you stick cartoons with adult jokes in them.
Yeah, exactly. I think, do you watch BoJack
I do,
Horseman? Because
yeah.
yeah, and I think that's a great example, I think, of a
Hmm.
really good cartoon with for adults.
Hmm.
Because I think in a way that's one of the most dark psychological series right now that's airing right now, and it's really amazing what they can do with it.
I love it. And the fact that it builds upon itself every season
Yeah.
is so well
Mm,
structured and so clearly thought out. And so many episodes have homages to other genres and shows.
mm,
And I really love it.
mm.
Like when it
It's
comes
one of
to,
those, yeah. Sorry.
no, me too.
I'm too excited.
No, same. I'm always like this talking about fandom.
Yeah. Mm,
When it comes to
yeah.
that Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman debate, where do you stand?
I didn't even know there was like a debate. Is it like people liking either one or the other,
It's like
or?
people are trying to decide which one's better. There's kind of this low
Oh, I
key, like which
see.
one is
Mhm.
better because they're both kind of adult and have more
Yeah.
adult themes and that kind
Mhm.
of thing.
Wow, that is so hard because I never actually thought of pinning them against each other. I feel like, I mean, I like Rick and Morty because I mean, it's so creative and I like the whole science fiction themes in
Hmm.
it. Like, it has some really complex science fiction ideas in it, and I really enjoy that. But on the same time, I think in a way, especially in the latest Rick and Morty season, I feel like there are so few characters that I really feel for.
Mm.
And I think in BoJack Horseman, even BoJack, I mean, he's done some really messed up stuff through the series, but especially in this last season, I really care even for him, and I definitely care for Princess Caroline and for
Hmm.
Todd, and like there are so many characters that I'm really in love with in that show. So maybe I prefer that one a little bit, but it almost feel like I can't compare them because to me they are very different. But of course I understand because there are so few cartoons for adults that
Hmm.
people will just compare them. But
Yeah, of course. And also because they're both airing at the same time. So it almost feels
yeah,
inevitable that people will pit them against each other. But I agree with you. I feel like they're
exactly.
apples and oranges. They're very
Yeah,
different from each
mm,
other. Although I do
yeah. I
think I
mean,
like BoJack a bit more.
yeah. But I think it's funny because just because they are cartoons, people compare them. But I feel
Hmm.
like if they were live action, you wouldn't necessarily compare them.
I don't think you
Like,
would either
then,
because they're completely different
no,
genres.
yeah, exactly, because one is science fiction and one is more like real life and it's Hollywood and it's about being a celebrity and
Hmm.
just you know, yeah, it's kind of funny because just because they are cartoons, people are like, oh, well, they
That's
belong
enough. Yeah,
together.
all cartoons are
Yeah,
the same.
yeah. I mean, that's like, and I think especially for us, since we watch so much anime and so on, it's kind of weird if you were to take like, well, what do you like best? And then you would compare like, I don't know, Pokemon and Death Note.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you have to choose. They are both really popular, so obviously they are the same thing. And it's like, well,
I once had to make a list at my old job that I'm still salty about. It was
mm,
top 10 greatest anime of all time. And I will never be over this because I tried to make a list of stuff that was a mix of critically acclaimed, popular, and other things,
mm,
but
yeah.
everybody was just like, "Where's Naruto? Where's Bleach?"
Oh,
It was just like a list of all the popular anime, and I was like, "No, guys, there's more anime out there."
oh. No, I think that's typical. There are some animes that just, yeah, they pop up everywhere.
Hmm. Well, it was hard. It hurt my heart because I put Cowboy Bebop on the list. I think Cowboy Bebop
Oh,
is really great. And somebody wrote in
yeah.
the comments, "What's that?" And I was like, "No, no."
No, there are those moments when you're talking to someone and you realize they don't know about a certain show or anime or comic, and then you're like, oh no, we have nothing in common.
I usually discover that because I make a joke or something
Yeah.
referencing it. I always make terrible Dune jokes all the
Oh,
time, and half the
mm.
time nobody gets them, and I'm just there like, whoever controls the spice, and then they're just looking
Oh,
at me.
No, that's true, because you don't have the same like references.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I just expect people to know certain things. I mean, because I think I was talking to someone some time back, and I was like, well, but I do prefer Marvel over DC sometimes because blah blah. And they are like, what is Marvel and DC? And I almost got a heart attack. Like, how can you not know that? But obviously, I mean, I guess there are probably stuff that I don't know either. I find it hard to believe, but I'm sure things out there. No, but there are some things, especially when you're into nerdy stuff, you just expect everyone to be like know about those things.
It's easy to forget that not everybody is into it, and that there are people who are just as passionately into things that I care nothing about. But I
No,
still have those
exactly.
moments where
Yeah.
my one friend, she mixed up Doctor Strange and Doctor Fate, and I nearly died. But
Oh, we're like, this is wrong on so many
I was like,
levels.
no, they're completely different. But
No, but I guess, I mean, I'm trying to find a comparison, but I guess, I mean, I know little to nothing about sports, and and I'm sure there are people who are like, well, you should at least know those teams, or you should at least know that this is going on. And so,
I always
yeah.
like to compare my fandom to people who are really into wine, because
Mm,
people like to act like that's just a really sophisticated, cool hobby to have.
yeah,
And I'm like, they're essentially the same thing. Like, you're just as into like knowing what the different brands are, what the stats are, who likes it, all of that jazz. It's just
yeah,
so, but it's the exact same kind of enjoyment, except instead of watching it or
yeah,
reading it, you get to drink it. So
yeah, true. No, that's true. I think that's a good comparison, really. And it's, both things are about entertaining in a
yeah.
way. Yeah. I went to buy champagne for a celebration, and I'm always so confused, like, because I don't know anything about the different kinds. And then I was reading the description, and it was like, this one tastes like bread. And I was like, how can it taste like bread? But I guess someone who's really into that kind of
Would
vocabulary,
actually
that,
be able to
yeah.
taste it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
always feel that way too, because sometimes the descriptions are personality based too. Like, it's
Yeah.
so
Oh,
quirky and bold.
yeah. Like, what does that mean? It's just a drink.
Like, just once I want to see the opposite. Like, it's dull and boring.
But I think sometimes those things, they can sound kind of like it shouldn't taste good.
Yeah. Like a spontaneous one. I'm like, does spontaneity taste good? I don't know.
Yeah, like, what does that even mean? Is it like it tastes one thing, and then after a while
It
it
tastes like
suddenly
another.
changes into something else? I would love to write those descriptions without any knowledge, and be like, well, this is an evil wine with
Just see how many people agree with you.
it has a bad temperament.
I really wanted to write Netflix descriptions for a while, because I know that they hire people who stay at home to do that. And when I first went on mat leave, I was like, come on, Netflix description.
That sounds like a perfect job, and then you can just watch everything. I think I'm so jealous, though. I don't know how it is, because in Sweden we have a very like I mean, our Netflix is really small
Hmm.
because they don't get the rights to everything.
Hmm.
So I'm always like, someone will post on Tumblr like, this show is on Netflix, and then I'm really happy for a second, and I'm like, no, that's probably just the American Netflix, because
It's the same over
yeah,
here.
yeah.
We have a bit more, but they have so much. And almost
Mhm.
every time it's all of MacGyver's on Netflix. And then I go check,
Yeah.
and no, it's not. Not up here
It's so
anyway.
frustrating. And I think when I was watching Pretty Little Liars, I think I was on season 6
Hmm.
on some website we're not gonna mention. It was totally legal though. But then I was on season 6, and then I got a mail from Netflix that said, "Good news! Now we have season 2 of Pretty Little
Oh,
Liars." And I'm like, you guys are so
too
behind.
slow. I'm kind of scared, because right now it seems like so many of the networks are trying to create their own streaming services to compete with
Yeah,
Netflix. Like, they're pulling their stuff off of it, and actually Disney's
yeah.
pulling off Warner Brothers and all their DC stuff is pulling off, I'm kind of worried it's going to become like cable, where you're going to end up needing to have 6 or 7 different packages to watch all of the things you want. And then I think people are just going to end up pirating again because nobody can afford that. So
No, I mean, it gets a little bit crazy because if you want to watch 2 series, you need to have Netflix and some other streaming site. And if you want to watch 4 series, you need to have 2 more. Like, I feel like the best thing would be if they all just teamed up and have had everything at the same place. But
yeah, but
yeah,
you know they want to
that's
compete.
probably, I feel, yeah, I know, but that's the problem. And as you are saying, more and more are getting their own streaming sites, so it's just going to get worse.
And some of them, they're actually posting pictures of stuff I think I'm interested in. Did you see the new picture of Brenton Thwaites as Robin for the Teen Titans series? I'm kind of excited. I'm cautiously excited.
Yeah, well, sometimes you need to be that. No, I think, and it's so frustrating also with Swedish Netflix because they are this very brutal thing that happens every year on New Year, when a lot of things will be removed because the rights has gone out for that year. And it was so frustrating because I had been watching The L Word, which is also one of those series that, like, there are a lot of things I don't like, but at the same time, it's like, it's such a cozy series. Like, it's just very nice to watch. And I was like halfway through, I think, and then it was just gone. And it's so frustrating because, I mean, the one good thing with Netflix is that you can pause anywhere and it's just
and come
very
back to
comfortable. Yeah, true. And I was like, where was I? Oh.
I was watching, rewatching Batman Brave and the Bold, and then they started removing it, but they started removing it in a really odd fashion in that they removed the first season and the second season, but left the third season.
Wow, that's so strange.
So it was very bizarre. I was like, why didn't you just take all of it? Now all I have is the third season.
That's so strange. That's kind of like when they buy in, I guess it's cheaper, but when I'm like, oh yay, they have this movie, and then it's like the number 3 in the series or something. It's like, I don't want to watch the sequel.
I know, I need to build up to it.
Yeah.
I love your poster, by the way. I just keep staring at it.
Oh yeah, thank you. I bought it at the recent comic event this summer. I was like, a unicorn throwing up a rainbow. That's the best thing ever.
No, I love all the art at the cons, the fan art. I think it's my favorite thing about going is seeing all the different booths and the art.
Me too. I love that. I go to pretty much, I mean, I try to go to as many cons as I can every year. Now it's, of course, to sell my own things, but I always have to walk around and check everyone else out because, and I always love to find the artists that aren't that famous, and, you know, because, well, I mean, I know how much it means to get support, and because, I mean, I'm very happy when people buy my stuff. So I really feel like it's very worth it to buy things at Artist Alleys because, I mean, you're not just giving your money to some big cooperation, you really are supporting the artist directly and getting something kind of unique. So it's a very nice thing for sure.
How is it? How is that transition from just going to cons to having your own booth and everything at the cons?
I think for me, because when I used to go to cons and I would walk around and then I would feel really bad when I would just pass someone's table, and then I would tell myself, no, people are passing all the time, and of course the person behind the counter doesn't care because that would be unreasonable. And then now that I am sitting at my own table selling, I realize that everyone that passed by, I'm like, why are you just walking? No, okay, it's not actually that bad. It was kind of funny though, because I took a photo recently where there was this R2D2 that went past my table. So I posted to Instagram and I was like, R2D2 was so rude. He just went past my table and he didn't buy my comic. Like, no, but I think what actually was a bit strange when I was starting to do Artist Alley was that I would have so much fun, and it would be fun to talk to people, and there's always a lot of good interactions with the other people that are selling and so on. But from time to time, I would get this very sad feeling, and I had no idea where it came from. I would just feel so overwhelmingly sad. And then I realized that it was the look that people give you when they just want to look a little bit and then go on. And I do that too, because obviously you can't buy from everyone, so no hard feelings. but that look reminded me so much of when I was little and I was really alone at school and kids would just pass by me. So I kept getting flashbacks to that without realizing it. But now that when I have realized that, it doesn't feel like that anymore. But that was a very strange thing. Like, but then again, everyone does that. When I'm at cons, I don't buy from everyone. I sort of go past and I look a little bit and then I move on because obviously I have to do that. But that was something that, yeah, I would get those really strange flashbacks and feel very ignored, like on an unconscious level. But now then when I realized that was what was happening, then I could get past that. So yeah, but I think it's mostly very fun. And what you don't think about is that the sellers have so much fun with each other and there's so much community. And especially since Sweden is a small country, I will meet people on almost every con and we get to know each other. And it's nice. I don't know how that would be, because obviously Sweden is very small. So people who make comics here will start to talk to each other, obviously. But yeah, it's nice. It's definitely fun, and I love talking to people, even when someone doesn't buy. It's always nice to connect and talk, and yeah.
No, it's just nice. It's nice to chat. I will talk to the independent creators, maybe because I'm a bit less shy about it. But it's always really cool to hear the inspirations and how they got started. And they normally have a bit more time to chat too, so that can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's so appreciated. I think some people probably think like, oh, I shouldn't bother this person, but I mean, at least speaking from my own experience, I love it when people come over and talk. Like even if they don't, I mean, it's completely okay not to buy anything, but just to, if I have many good conversations, that makes my day a lot more fun when I sit there. So,
do you find that now that you're a creator, anybody puts you on a bit of a pedestal, or?
I don't know. I mean, I think for myself, I don't really, I mean, I think my art is okay, but I don't really see myself as this amazing comic book artist. I see myself more of like a storyteller. So I think still when people, especially when people give me compliments on my art, I'm like, really? Really? So I think maybe I have too bad self-esteem to really. But it did happen though with one person that came to my table once and she said something about following my comic for a long time and really liking it, but she was very shy, so I could tell she thought it was scary to actually talk to me. And for some reason that made me feel very shy, like because I get and I often get that, like if I feel like, oh, this person really likes my comic and they have been following me online, and then I feel like, what if I can't live up to that? What if I'm not as good as this person wants me to be? Or like, am I ruining this interaction that I think is so important with other with people that I admire? So I don't know. I definitely, I can get sort of nervous if I can tell the other person is nervous, and I will get nervous. So yeah, how do you feel about that when people are nervous to approach you for conversations and things like that?
On the one hand, I completely understand it because I am so nervous approaching people myself. So on the one hand, I totally get it. I'm like, yeah, of course. On the other hand, I'm like, but I'm just a person. It's okay. I'm not scary.
No.
But I still have moments where I can't believe that people are watching. I still remember back in the day when I posted the first one, and I think half the views were from me hitting refresh. And so it's still, whenever I get a person who does message me and says, oh, I've been watching for forever and I really like it, it's just so, I still can't fully reconcile that that's a thing, because I've been posting for over a year now. So whenever I hear somebody who's been there for over a year since I've been posting stuff, and especially because I just started this channel because I love ship manifestos and shipping and different viewpoints when it comes to that, and I never really expected it to go anywhere, kind of.
No,
so.
I feel like it has really, it's just skyrocketing, but I understand it because I mean, I think with your videos you just get hooked right away because they are so well researched, and yeah, I think and very unique, because I think a lot of people in YouTube, they are sort of, I mean, they feel like they have to make new content all the time. So I feel with you, it's so well thought out, everything.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that because
Yeah,
sometimes I do want to I'm like I should be more trending and on top of the trends.
yeah,
But at the same time, I actually like doing stuff later because I find especially in fandom when you hop on something right when it's happening, lots of times people are
mm,
still really really passionate slash upset about it. And so whatever you say people don't really listen to it because they're just still interested in
mm,
fighting or arguing over whatever it
yeah,
is. And I'm not interested
that
in
is
that. I'm
true.
more interested in hearing about what happened, why it happened, and how people feel about
Mm,
it. But if people are still
yeah,
too angry about it, you can't really get that perspective
mm,
of it.
that's
So sometimes I
true.
just want to leave it alone, especially sometimes with fandoms that are so hot. And then I learn that they're
Mm.
having all this drama and people are like, cover the drama. I'm like, I'll wait till the drama comes
Mm,
down.
yeah,
Then
I
we'll
think
talk
that's
about
good because yeah, it gives some distance and it makes it easier to really analyze the situation without there being a lot of feelings and
Especially
things that
because
just.
online
Mm,
there's so much misinformation. You'll see
mm,
somebody retweet something or pass something around, and you'll find that it's fake, misattributed, didn't really
mm,
happen. And so when you jump on things really, really quickly, I find that that's
yeah.
when you end up having to do an update like, oh, actually, this didn't happen, or this person didn't
Mm,
say this. And
no.
I
Mm,
never like doing that, especially when you could just wait a little bit and then you'll find
mm,
out what actually happened after.
yeah. Mm. No, but I think that's a good way to go about it. I mean, I got that advice because I mean, I started my YouTube channel quite recently and I want to talk about fiction and analyze pop culture and things like
Hmm.
that, but also talk about creativity and my own writing. And I thought that, oh, well, hopping on trends, that's probably very clever. But I'm very much like a perfectionist. And if I'm going to talk about something, I
Hmm.
want to get all the facts and I want to research it. So I feel like with a lot of things, like, it's not trending anymore when I get to it because
Exactly, because when you're doing
yeah,
research and figuring it out, it takes too long because there are people
yeah,
uploading that second. I've seen
mhm,
something happens 2 hours later, somebody has something up, and I'm like,
yeah,
how did you teleport?
yeah.
How is this up?
Yeah, I really, and some of those videos, they are very, very well thought out and
Hmm.
they are very good. And you're like, how did you have time for this? I think I blame a lot on the fact that, I mean, I have my YouTube channel in English. So I blame a lot on the fact that, well, I have to think everything through and translate it and get it right. But I think some people just have a talent for covering things right away. I really want to make a Star Wars video
Hmm.
now for the new movie coming out, but we'll see. Maybe that will be out by Christmas or something.
I know mine will be out by Christmas. So.
Yeah, yeah, it's like,
No,
but
especially
yeah, yeah.
since I had my daughter, time
Mm.
has just completely changed. Because
Well, that I understand, of
a
course.
question I
Yeah.
get a lot from my friends who don't have kids that drives me insane
Mm.
is, so what else are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? What else am I doing? Like, I'm babying.
Oh,
That's what I'm doing.
yeah.
It's just such a funny question. There's just like ellipses. Oh, but what else?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't have a baby, but to me, I mean, I actually was kind of selfish when I found out because I thought like, oh no, now all her videos are going to disappear. So I actually think it's really great that I mean, you keep getting content out. That's amazing.
No, it's like my husband's super helpful because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do anything
So, I
ever.
mean, I found this YouTube channel that I really liked and I watched through all the videos. And then there was this last video where the person said that I'm pregnant, and then there was no more videos for like 2 years. And I went to her Facebook page and everyone was like writing things like, is she alive? Did she die? And I
Hmm.
was feeling really like upset about it. And now she came back recently with a video saying, well, I had a kid, so I had to take a break. And I was like, well, that does make more sense.
No, people get really dramatic on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've worked on a couple of channels, and one time my boss went away for a vacation, and honestly, the first few comments were, "Did he die?"
No, I mean, and sometimes I think that can happen. Like, if for people, of course, if people are used to them posting daily, if
Hmm.
they don't post for like 2 or 3 days, everyone is like, oh, has there been any accidents
What
in the
happened?
area?
On the one hand, it's sweet, but on the other hand, it's calm down. There's probably a reasonable explanation
Yeah.
for this. So, what is some of the advice on creativity and stuff that you give on your channel?
Yeah, I've been talking a little bit about character design in a recent video, and just how I think it's like you can do so much with how you design your characters, both, I mean, the way you describe them in books, but mostly in comics. Like you can give so many messages through the way the character looks. Like, I mean, in my comic, I use the way they dress a lot to reflect their personality, because I don't want to do one of these comics where they wear the same shirt every day. Because that always bothers me in a way. It's like, I kind of like it in the first episode of Pokemon where Ash's mom is like, you need to change your underwear every day. And I'm like, that's not the biggest problem. He hasn't changed his shirt in seasons.
In months.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe he's good with the underwear. Who knows? But so what I do with my characters is like I try to give everyone a personal style that reflects their personality, and like they have a special color scheme or something like that. And so that will be the same, but their clothes will still change, which I think is good, because then I can sort of show also that time has passed, like it's the next day, brand new clothes. And in that video, I also talked about how I think in comics especially we need more diversity when it comes to, you know, body types and things like that. I think you can do a lot as a visual storyteller just with adding that, because it's kind of boring. I think sometimes in mainstream comics all the characters look the same.
That can definitely happen, and maybe that's why they have to wear the same outfits sometimes, because otherwise,
Yeah.
I swear some characters have the exact same facial design, and if they didn't have a hair streak or a different
Yeah.
shirt, I would not know who they were.
Wouldn't be able to tell them
Yeah, I
apart.
wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
Yeah, and I think I just started this new series, which I hope can bring writers together a little bit, where I'm going to put out a question on the first day of each month related to the creative process. And I hope that it's not just going to be me answering, that other people will also join in and just talk about their process. The first question was, how do you put yourself in a creative mood to get working with writing? And I think I hope that can be a nice way, because I don't think there is really any like right or wrong thing to go about creating. I like hearing different creative processes and people's different perspective, because everyone works so differently, and I think that's very inspiring. So I really hope that can bring creators together. And I want to keep it very open, so I'm calling it the storyteller question, because I want it to be for everyone, from the people who are like publishing novels to the people who make web comics to the people who make fan fiction. Like I hope that everyone can join in. So,
no, it sounds like fun.
yeah, I have a lot going on. I feel like in my head my YouTube channel is very like everything fits together, but I don't know if anyone else would think that. Because I feel like I have so many interests. So
I totally get you. I feel like I'm always jumping around from thing to thing. And a question I get a lot is, how do you pick your videos? And like, it makes sense to me.
yeah, well, I mean, that must be hard, because I think, I mean, sure, the theme of your channel is like fandom and shipping and so on, but there is so many fandoms and so many different types of fandoms. So that must be really hard. Do you like, yeah, you asked me that before, how much the fans changes the content I put out, but how is that for you? Do you do you see people asking for things and then you prioritize that, or is it more like you do what you have inspiration to? Or
It's definitely a combination. I have the Patreon where I have the monthly fan vote, where that video 100% happens, and I give them a bunch of choices, and then whatever is voted on there 100% happens. And then I look through comments, and I like to see what's being commented and what pairing people want the most, and I always like keep note of that. And so I have a little folder of what people really seem to want. And then also the biggest factor, though, just depends on what I have time to do / what I have time to rewatch, because whatever I'm doing, if it's a comic or a movie, a book, I will always revisit the material.
Yeah, that's good.
because I
Yeah.
don't because it's so easy to forget. Like, memory is so fallible,
Mm,
and you're gonna go in like, oh, I watched this 2 years ago. That's not good enough. You need
mm,
to have seen it
no.
recently. So
Mm.
I'll off.
That's true, and that's a lot of work. I mean, especially when you were talking about things like Death Note and stories that are really big, like
That's
because
why it
not just
always
the
makes me
anime.
laugh when
Yeah.
people are like, "Where's Destiel?" I'm like, "Okay, Supernatural is like 13 seasons."
Yeah.
And
Oh.
also, when you're marathon watching, there is a creator I really like, Alison Pregler. She does movie nights and a bunch of other series. And she once did a series where she rewatched all of Charmed and then did
Mm,
season by season reviews of Charmed. And in the
oh.
middle, she had to take this huge break, like months. And I
Mm,
totally get that because watching the same show for so long, you can get burned out, especially if you're watching it and
yeah.
taking
Mm,
notes, and it stops being,
yeah.
people don't realize, like, it stops being as fun when you're watching it for such a specific thing. Like, you're not
Mm,
just sitting there watching it, you're also trying to pay attention to all of this subtext and all those things.
that is true.
So if a series
Mm,
is really long, sometimes you just need a break from it. Another thing I find
mm,
that can, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but do you ever find that if a fandom suddenly starts experiencing massive drama or something, it makes
mm.
you want to take a break?
Yeah, that's definitely true because when there is too much drama, it sort of takes that joy away sometimes, and it's like, I mean, of course, I will still be in the fandom and I
Hmm.
will still have the feelings I have for the ships and so on, but maybe I won't go into Tumblr as much or, things like that.
How do you like
But
Tumblr?
sometimes,
Tumblr has such a bad rep. What do you think of it?
I don't know. I mean, I talked to someone about that recently because she said that, oh, I would never join Tumblr because there's so much drama and so many trolls. And I was like, well, I've been on Tumblr for many years and I haven't really came across anything that nasty, really. I feel like most of the time I think it's a fun, a good place. And I really like reading. Just, when new episodes are sent of different series I'm following, I like to go in and see what people are writing and saying. And I think no, I think most of the time I think Tumblr is good to me, but of course, I mean, I think it's so different in different fandoms, and sometimes I think surrounding different accounts,
Hmm.
like some Tumblr users, they never really get into a lot of drama, and then there are some people that there's always drama.
Yeah.
So, so I think, I mean, you can be on different parts of Tumblr in a way. I don't know. Are you like that sometimes? Because I can be this, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I feel like sometimes when there is a ship I don't ship, and then something bad happens to that couple with that ship in the series, then I will go into that tag and just lurk to
See
see
what they're
those
saying.
people's reactions. Like I'm like, oh wow, this must really break that fandom, and then I like get my popcorn out. No, okay, I'm not quite that evil, but it's like sometimes I get like curious, like, oh, how are people taking this? Like, are people leaving this ship now, or are they going to start shipping what I am shipping instead? Like,
I'm so neutral about most ships, even ships I like. So lots
hmm.
of times I'll get messages that are like, "This happened, and can you believe it? And aren't you upset about it?" And I'm like, "No."
No, but I think that's great. And I think in a way, like even if sometimes I can sort of like search out to see if there's some drama in certain ship tag, I think, I mean, because I really feel like you shouldn't stop shipping something just because the show messes it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
if you really love
canon,
a ship, mm,
yeah, canon doesn't need to be the be all end all of
yeah,
how you ship.
exactly. Mm. No, exactly. I think that if it's really great in the first season, you can always ship it based on the first season.
Hmm.
So in a way, it's never really, it shouldn't be, yeah, like you said, it shouldn't be the all
It's
and
not,
all of
yeah,
it.
it's not fully gone kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And then I think for me, I'm very much a multi-shipper. Like I
Me
can
too.
ship many different ships in the same show. So most of the time, I'm not that passionate because some people are like, "Oh, how can you ship this person with this person? He should only be with this person." I'm like,
Hmm.
well, I mean, I can see both, and I can like read fan fiction about both and sort of enjoy them in the
And yeah, in
right
their own
setting.
ways, kind of.
Yeah. Mm. So,
My husband is texting me every single one of these videos I do. I always say, I'm like, I'm gonna have a good outro this time. It's not gonna be awkward.
oh,
It never happens.
no.
Every single time.
Oh no! Now you have texted your husband to be like there's an text me that there's an emergency so I can get
He's
out
like,
of this
she's a
chat.
multi-shipper.
Like this just isn't working. So let me guess. It's like been a car accident with his dog, and now you have to go.
His homework is eaten. It's just.
It's horrible. I knew this would be bad interaction. Now I can't watch your videos anymore.
It's all over.
No, but seriously, I'm so happy I could come and take part in a conversation. It's been so much fun talking to you, and I hope my English hasn't been too bad to listen to.
No, it's been great. You've been really great. Thank you. It's been so much fun. So thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
And hopefully, who knows, maybe we can do it again sometime. So
Yeah, I would love that. There are so many fandoms left to talk about.
yeah,
so.
for sure. Too many.
Yeah.
So you enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, thank you. It's almost midnight here, so I'm probably gonna go to bed. I may watch Riverdale because I have a new episode that I'm
I
gonna
need to
watch.
catch up
So.
too. It looks so
Yeah,
dark
yeah.
here. It's actually only 6, but
Yeah.
it's so dark.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but have a great night and thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, you too. So if you're still here, as always, you're a trooper. Let me know all of your thoughts down below and share with me some of your favorite indie comics. I'm trying out a new filming angle, so let me know what you think about that too. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys soon. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all my patrons. Again, if you're interested in helping determine content, check out Patreon. The link is down below. And please feel free to follow me on social media to keep up to date with what's coming up next. Thanks again, and as always, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.